Good evening, everybody, and welcome to O'Rourke's Public House for the Mike Brey Radio Show. As you can hear, we've got a terrific crowd. The students aren't back on campus yet, but all these folks came out on a balmy 9-degree South Bend night, little snow in the air, and they braved the now plowed but frozen roads to get out here.
We got a heck of a crowd. We got Granger represented,
Absolutely.
Torres is Austin's fan club, and we got Philadelphia represented over here. The Steve Astoria fan club is here as well from Philadelphia. So, and a good crowd, but this is a pretty big game Saturday, huh?
But there's so many ways to introduce this show, but here's the one I like the best. As you look at the Atlantic Coast Conference standings tonight, Notre Dame is alone in first place in the Atlantic Coast Conference standings with the best record in the league at 3-0. That's great territory.
We should send that out to all our recruits, right?
Yes.
We already have.
I'm sure you have. I'm sure you have.
We already have. We're off to a great start. I mean, this past, let's think about these last two games in a short window, and you could be 1-2, but winning close games in league play is really a key to surviving and earning an NCAA tournament bid. And one of the things I talked to our guys about when we got back from Christmas was we need to embrace hard games because we're going to be in hard games the rest of the way. We have been winning 20, 25. Some of our even our other league game against Florida State was easy, but now it comes down to game situations, making plays, getting big stops. Executing things, and I'm really proud of how we handled it against Georgia Tech, and then certainly to turn it around. We needed to get some rest on Sunday, and we had enough energy in us to escape Chapel Hill, and it's just a great win for our program. I know it gets us our third league win, but we were 4-18 against North Carolina all time, and we never won in Chapel Hill. Those are kind of program wins that it's something for your program, and it's great for this current group to get more confidence. So to be sitting here 3-0, especially after the last two, we are thrilled to be in that position, and maybe we're the cardiac Irish this year. So be ready and take your blood pressure medicines Saturday about 5 o'clock before we get started.
I know the folks watching now and watching Dean here on the monitors at O'Rourke's, they're watching the highlights of your victory over Carolina, and it's not just the location. And by the way, I've been around here long enough that I've been to all 4 Notre Dame games in Chapel Hill. You hadn't won before, but that's one of the cathedrals of college basketball. Over 20,000. I mean, so many came out that there was a traffic jam that actually Notre Dame showed up late. You didn't get there till 5 or 6 as a team. And to win there against that program, and a program, folks, that was picked by many to be a favorite for the Final Four this year, and to go 9 minutes. I mean, everybody's talking about you beat them with threes, and certainly the 10 threes helped. But you didn't get a field goal for about 9 minutes in the second half until Zach got that big rebound late, and you still managed to beat them.
Yeah, no, we really had to guard to escape. And you're right about the venue there. I mean, I spent 8 years in the ACC as an assistant, so you certainly knew of the Dean Dome and how hard it was to win there. And for this group and our program to get a win in that building, it's really an endorsement. And I think it's a confidence giver for us when we go back on the road again next Wednesday against Georgia Tech. But you're right, Jack. I mean, we knew a run was coming. I love throughout the game, every time they made a run, we kind of answered and put it back out to 2 possessions or 7 or 8 points. But you knew it was coming at the end, and you were going to have to escape. We missed some free throws. We threw the ball away a couple times. Yet there's where I think we've really grown. We didn't hang our head and let it affect us on the defensive end. We came back down and we dug in, and I think that's kind of the maturity of this group. We don't let offensive woes affect us defensively. That's where we've made great growth from last season.
And you knew from the beginning of the year that rebounding was going to be an issue. It continues to be an issue. Carolina was the #1 overall rebounding team and the #1 offensive rebounding team in the country. And let's be honest, you kind of got killed on the offensive glass. But what I loved was when your guys give up the offensive rebound, they never stop battling. You tied your season high with 7 blocks, and they were all inside. It meant, hey, Meeks or whoever got the rebound, toe-to-toe, but you kept defending. And I think they got 21 offensive rebounds, and they got 20 second chance points, which means they only converted half of them. That means you really defended well.
Yeah, and I think, you certainly are concerned about second shots. But, you can't get totally distracted with that number. And it's interesting, we gave up 17 to Michigan State and won. We gave up 19 to Georgia Tech and won. We gave up 21 to North Carolina. And Sean Battier asked me, he said, what do you think you can actually give up tonight and escape? I go, depends on how our offense is going. And, you know, our offensive efficiency has been so good that we've been able to rise above that. And then we have gotten key defensive rebounds, you know, down the stretch, a big stop at the end of the game. We have been able to do that and really buckle down and get those. And, you know, so, again, I wish those offensive rebounds would be about 13 or 14, and we're playing another team in Virginia who athletically gets up on the backboard. I'd feel better about 13 or 14, but you know, you can't overanalyze that either.
And again, it's not every night. I want to make that clear. The teams that have out-rebounded you on the offensive glass are among the best offensive rebounding teams in the country. You went up against the Florida State team, athletic, with 3 7-footers, and they only out-rebounded you by 1.
Right.
You went up against a Purdue team that I think is pretty good, has 2 very good 7-footers, and you out-rebounded them by, I think, 8 or 9, and you were very close in the offensive rebounding. So it's not that your team can't rebound. You're just a little bit undersized, and it's going to be a battle against height doesn't seem to bother you. Wide bodies do.
Yeah. Well, you're going to give up something with the lineup that we start and play a lot, and even when BJ comes in. We play, you could technically say we play 4 guards, even though Pat Connaughton is the ultimate hybrid guard. You know, he's a 2 through a 4. I mean, he can guard people, he can rebound. And you feel, I felt we could get away playing him as the second big guy and guarding the other team's 4-man because he was the leading returning defensive rebounder in the league last year. So when you have a guy who built like a guard but rebounds like a center, you feel you can absorb that, and so far we have, because when we go back to that other end and now you got to chase us around and we can really spread you out over 60 to 70 possessions, our efficiency kind of kicks in a little bit. It was great to see us really shoot the ball well. One of the things we needed to do was get off to a good start. The last 2 games we played here, Hartford and Georgia Tech, we didn't get off to a good start. We were digging out of a hole. It's important when you play on the road against a good team to get off to a good start, and we got out of the gate. We were moving, cutting, we were shooting the ball. We felt good, and it kind of took their crowd out of it a little bit. And so I think your guys felt like because you got off to a good start, you feel you can finish it too.
And you're against the Carolina team that I think was the #1 3-point field goal defensive team in the ACC, and they still couldn't stop you. But what I really liked, and I think you're so highly ranked in so many offensive categories, again, in protecting the basketball as you always are. But what I think people don't realize is how good you've been statistically defensively. You're 4th in the ACC in total steals. You're 6th in steals per game. You held Carolina to under 37% shooting. It's the 10th time this season you've held the opponents to under 40% shooting.
Well, I think because our offense is so efficient, it's talked about a lot, and we're improved defensively. That's why we are where we are. We would not be in this position unless we're doing on that other end. And you've heard me say I think it really starts with Demetrius Jackson's ball pressure. He has been able to push the offense and get it started a little further out on the court. We're quick enough to get into passing lanes because of his ball pressure, and we turn some people over now. And so when we turn people over, we don't have to worry about a block out. We can just get it and go, and we get some easy buckets that way. So, I think we had to make progress there, and we have, and it really does start with the ball pressure job that Demetrius does for us.
And talk a little bit about, again, and I was talking with Lou Smosey at Blue and Gold Illustrated about this today. There's this myth that great teams play so many players. About the only one I know that does that is Kentucky. In all honesty, and I didn't say it on the broadcast, but I was thinking Roy Williams actually has a bit of a problem right now because he's got 6 McDonald's All-Americans. He's got to keep them all happy. He's rotating so many people in, and I'm not leading you to comment on this, but it looked to me like they have trouble getting into a rhythm because so many guys are playing and nobody's getting that many minutes. That doesn't mean you don't want 6 McDonald's All-Americans on your team.
Yeah.
But you're going to your core 6, but that other group, there's 3 guys who are going to get in there and get a chance, and night to night somebody has been stepping up, and the chemistry on your team is allowing those guys who may not be playing the minutes that they want to play to keep their heads in it and to keep supporting and to be ready to excel when they get the call.
No, you're right. I think you've heard me say this. Depth can be a little bit overrated on a game night. Now, you need it in practice, and For example, today, the blue shirts, which is the second unit, was thumping the white shirts for half a practice. That's a good thing. So you need that. One of the things that we've really benefited from is being extremely efficient offensively and taking care of the ball. And if you play a little bit too many guys, I think you lose some of that. A group learns to play together. And when you shorten it a little bit. I have been so pleased, and one of them's our guest tonight, with the guys that have come off the bench for us. And sometimes it's been 15 minutes, sometimes it's been 8 minutes, but they are a big, big reason that we are in the position we are. Austin Torres comes in and helps us win the Michigan State game, plays 17 minutes down the stretch, which was the first game we needed to win to feel like maybe we are pretty good. Burgett has come off and given us stuff. Martin Gebbin comes off the bench against Georgia Tech last Saturday, takes a charge right away, which was a big play, gets a couple rebounds. VJ Beacham, how he came off the bench for us the other night shooting the basketball. And what's great about those guys coming off the bench, they understand, my window's going to be smaller, but this is my job, and this is my role, and we're good if I do my thing. And that takes a lot of maturity for those guys because they're not getting to play as much as the other guys. But their heads have been great. Their attitudes have been great. And the one thing we do have is depth in practice, which makes us, which makes us better every day. And those starting guys can't relax.
Your practices are really, really competitive.
Yep.
And, folks, he was sick last week. He may not play that much this year, but Matt Farrell, you're going to love him when he steps up and plays more at the guard position for this team. Austin Torres is our guest. He gets one more segment to visit with family and friends before we bring him up here because we've got a timeout. Then we have our audience questions for Coach Brey. It's the Mike Brey Radio Show live from O'Rourke's Public House, presented by our good friends at TireRack.com. Welcome back to the Mike Brey Radio Show live from O'Rourke's Public House. And before we get to the audience questions, I want to use a little perspective here now. Coach has never been a me guy. His television show is still Inside Notre Dame Basketball with Mike Brey. For the first, 8 years of this show, it was the official Notre Dame basketball show because he didn't want his name on the show.
Why did we change it?
I think somebody said that we needed to get your brand out there more, and it wasn't you. So I was going to use this as a factoid on his TV show, but then other coaches, since it's his show, could think that he was rubbing their noses in it. But here's perspective. If you want to know what this team has done under Coach Brey, since January 12th of 2012, Coach Brey coached teams have beaten teams coached by Jim Boeheim, Jim Calhoun, John Calipari, Tom Izzo, Rick Pitino, Coach K, and now Roy Williams. So that's pretty
good
darn
run.
good company.
Pretty good run.
So when folks ask me about us getting a great coach, I would say we already got a great coach sitting to my right now. We're going to start off with Sue from Boston, who came out here to South Bend to warm up. Coach, can you please explain how man-to-man versus zone defense affects team rebounding?
Well, the one thing, a kind of a rule of thumb, which is with zone, is you don't have as specific a block-out responsibilities, and guys can really fly to the rim and get second shots, whereas in man-to-man, you got your guy and you're supposed to block him out. Zone always worries me a little bit because, rebounding the ball is a little bit of a problem anyways. But I think we have gotten better with our blockouts, and our guards have gotten down there and blocked out and helped us more. But we use both. We got to change defenses. One thing about we played a little bit of zone. I tell you what we did do at the end of the half. They were holding for one shot, and we went from man to zone with about 15 seconds, and it stalled them a little bit. We actually played a little diamond and one on Page for a possession or two, too. So you got to change the rhythm of a team. Virginia is a team that really gets into a good offensive rhythm. They run kind of predictable movement. Sometimes you got to want to change that rhythm sometimes, just like people play us zone to get us out of our man rhythm and cutting and moving versus man-to-man. But you're always concerned because, blockout responsibilities out of zone.
Joe Massis here from South Bend. Coach, I think your rotation is great this year, but can you give more time to Burgett? Can't he give you 5 rebounds per game? That should be your challenge to him.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I think night to night, Burgett is a guy that could be in there more. Right now, we've kind of used him to rest Pat Connaughton. We've kind of used him to spell him a little bit, but Pat's able to play pretty long minutes for us. One of the things Berg does naturally is he really offensive rebounds very well. We still got to stay on him about helping us defensive rebound. But the one thing that he does do, this is a veteran guy. He's easy to play with. You know, he doesn't hunt his shot. He fits in with other guys offensively. He screens. He gets them open. And then he understands team defense. He rotates over. He helps his teammates. He talks well. You know, most veteran guys in a program will talk better than young guys. So he's a key guy for us moving forward.
Jane Golden's here from your own stomping grounds of Delaware, Fenwick Island to be specific. Coach, I'm sure you are working on it, but what can be done to improve rebounding?
Keep blocking out, and you know, we don't lose too much sleep on it. We got to continue to block out. You know, we come off the bench with some athletic guys that can help us rebound better, but I'm not necessarily the stat I'm looking is at that final score, not necessarily if we out-rebound somebody. And so far, our offensive efficiency has been good enough. But it's always something you got to keep an eye on and keep working on and moving forward.
And matter of fact, I guess the stat everybody goes to now are the Ken Pom offensive efficiency rankings, and you're number 2 in the country right now.
Yeah. I mean, it's you know, that's part of your defense. Your offensive efficiency is part of your defense and part of your rebounding. You know, you can absorb that because we're so efficient there, and you know, it's kind of how we played for many years here. You know, just be really good with the ball. We've gone in and out of being a good defensive team. I think we're underrated as a defensive team right now.
And I have to do this, but if you get 21 offensive rebounds, it means you've missed 21 shots.
Yeah, you're missing some shots, and, you know, what do they convert with those? How many are they converting? Yeah. You know, not everything is a putback dunk, but it gets a little adventuresome when we have to, you know, scramble there for one every now and then.
Jason Zook's here from South Bend. Coach, do you prepare any differently against the pack line defense? That's what Virginia plays. How many teams do you know that actually run this defense?
Well, I think there's a lot of teams playing that way now, which is more of a sagging man-to-man, and we've played a bunch of games. Michigan State plays that way, where they're jamming the lane and kind of almost wanting you to shoot over the top. You've got to move them around. You've got to reverse the ball a couple times. You've got to cut. You've got to stir them up. But you're going to have to make some shots over the top of it because it's a jammed-in defense. And so it's not going to be all stuff going to the basket.
Stacy's here from South Bend. What, in your opinion, Coach, is Virginia's best win so far?
Boy, they played a great schedule. You know, the win at VCU is a great win. The win at Miami is a great win. You know, where they had it won, then they were beat, and then they came back and had it won. I'm trying to think of their other non-league games.
They beat a Harvard team. Was supposed to
beat
win.
Harvard. Thumped Harvard really bad. But they played on the. You know, I'll tell you, at Maryland.
Yeah.
That's their best win. They went up to Maryland and kind of, you know, beat them by probably 8 or 10. And Maryland's really good. I think that's their best win. Simon
Rodriguez is here from South Bend. What are some of the things you do to get players prepared for a big game after a big road win?
You know, you try and keep an even keel and not make, you know, okay, this is a big game. This may not be a big game. You're trying to prepare consistently the same way. You know, the one thing we tried to achieve the 2 days after the North Carolina win was to get some rest and get our energy back because we used a lot of energy in a 3-day period. So we didn't do a whole lot physically Tuesday. We didn't do a whole lot physically Wednesday. Some of the guys that don't play as much got some conditioning and some skill work. Now, today we got back into it and got a feel of some of Virginia's stuff, and we had to get up and down the court a little bit. But, you know, we have a way that we prepare, and tomorrow we'll go through our scouting report and watch some film, and it's consistent with what we do, whether we're playing, you know, Virginia or playing Coppin State.
Brooke Zook's here, and the head coach doesn't have to get involved in all of these things. Her concern is with hockey going on at the same time, are you worried about the parking situation for your game? This is something that gets discussed a lot. They've got a shuttle system now.
Yeah, I brought that up because, you know, I was at breakfast one morning about a month ago, and one of our season ticket holders said, Coach, you know, I got to talk to you about it. And I appreciate it. I forwarded it to my AD and said, you know, I'm getting hammered in town about parking. I know we're trying to rectify it. I'm not sure if we have it rectified yet, but obviously this Crossroads project has stirred up some things out there. And All I do is ask our fans to be patient and please get in there because we need you in the stands. Not only Saturday, but the rest of them.
Well, Saturday's sold out. We thank you for that. Miami's almost sold out. Duke's sold out. You only got 7 more chances to see this team, and I think I do have the pedigree to say this is one of the best teams I've ever had the honor of calling their game. So it's worth coming out a little early. And, heck, I'll come out and pick you up if I can, although now they got me speaking to people before games as well. Come out a little early. It's going to be worth it. It's a huge game on Saturday. Denise Massa, this is a deep question. You ready for a deep question?
I'm ready.
What is one key event that changed your life in a positive or negative way, and did it influence your career as a coach?
As a coach. You know, I mean, I guess – I don't know if it was a key event, but, you know, I'm really a product of my environment. My parents were teachers and coaches, and I was around them when they were working with young people when I was young, and I watched that. The dinner table talk was what they did in their class or what their team did. And, you know, I would get out of school early in elementary school to see my dad's junior high games. So I was very fortunate that I was around 2 what I consider great educators that could connect with young people and get them confident. And I think I just kind of stayed the course and stayed in this teaching, coaching business.
And for those of you
it beats a real job.
Yes, it does.
Beats a real job.
I think it does.
Yeah.
And it pays a little better than most real jobs.
That's true.
Most, not all. Not all. I mean,
true.
You get to hang with people that make a lot more money than you do, but overall it pays more than most real jobs.
Very true.
And his mom was a star swimmer at Purdue, in case you don't know. So there's an Indiana tie there as well. Last question. This is John. Back to that depth thing. Are you at all worried about players wearing down by playing the starters so much?
You know, what we've done here, and you know, it's kind of been our MO as far as our starters playing heavy minutes is even when we start practice in October, we keep that in mind as far as how long we practice, how we rest, how we use our chiropractor and our massage therapist for recovery sessions. That's always on my mind. Now it really comes to the forefront because we've played a lot of basketball on these legs, including the tour to Italy. But there is, other than this last swing where we had a Saturday, Monday, we have nice spacing between our games. And that's good where we can get some recovery time for guys and get them back. And so I think you just got to be smart about how you pace a team through the season.
And you know who else does this, but you know who else does this? Virginia and their Vana defense. Last night they played 7 guys, double-digit minutes. The 8th guy played single minutes. So I keep preaching to folks, and I challenge folks to question me on it. Go out and try to find 5 top 15 teams that play 8 guys or more double-digit minutes, and nobody ever gets back to me because there's so few that do it. And you get so many timeouts now. And you get a minimum of 9 timeouts, and I just got a memo. The ESPN timeouts are longer. They're 2.5 minutes. So
those timeouts Monday night in Chapel Hill, I'm sitting in the huddle with them for so long. I don't have anything else to say, you know. But let's just rest.
Because otherwise, your guys usually get up and stand up.
Yeah,
so you just had them sit down.
We're going to stay in here and let's just
maybe
talk.
You could play cards.
Yeah,
or something.
Let's talk. You know, but there's long timeouts, there's media timeouts. You know, we're only playing 2 games a week. You know, you got to remember these young people are in unbelievable shape. You know, when they play in the summer, their high school summers.
They're playing 5 hours a day.
They play 4 games a day over a weekend. They they go to bed at midnight. They wake up at 7 and play, and they just roll. And it's you know, they're in great shape. They really are in great shape.
We'll be back with Austin Torres in a moment. This is the Mike Brey Radio Show live from O'Rourke's Public House. Welcome back to the Mike Brey Radio Show live from O'Rourke's Public House, presented by our friends at TireRack.com. Please welcome, on his 20th birthday, Austin Torres. Do you know it was his birthday today?
I did not know that.
So this is how we
know that.
You
Happy
get to
birthday.
go on the
Thanks,
radio.
Coach. Thanks, Coach.
How about that? They probably thought that was all planned, right?
Now, diehard Notre Dame fans already know what this guy has done for this team this year, what great athleticism that he brings to the table. But you know how people let stuff get started. And a lot of people say, well, they recruited Austin because he's Demetrius's friend. Well, talk a little bit about how because scholarship's too valuable. He's only got 13. He's not going to waste one because somebody is somebody's buddy. But talk about how you first got to know him and why you ended up offering him.
I've known Austin's family ever since I've been in South Bend. It's a great, they're a Granger family, great people. Austin's mom has been very involved with our Coaches versus Cancer program, but I've known them forever. And but when you watched that AAU team and you watched Demetrius play, I probably saw them play 17 times, and each time I watched that, he and Demetrius are playing so well together. Forget that he's playing well with Demetrius, that he's active, he's up on the board, he's blocking shots, he's running, and I come back from each game and I'm going, I can't kind of get this guy off my mind right now. What? We don't really have a guy like that who can just be an energy guy and a dirty work guy and fly around and do all those things. And, by the end of the summer, I'm starting to think about him even more. And, funny story, I know his mom remembers this. We're at one of our fundraisers, and we really haven't reacted yet. We're thinking about it, we're discussing it, and she's asking, she said, well, can I talk to you about some of the schools? And at that point, it was maybe Central Michigan and a bunch of Division IIs. And I think the genius that I said, well, if he goes to a Division II, he's going to be starred. He could probably be a star. So that's how great an evaluator I am, and then so we go through the rest of August and September, and, I'm starting to watch my team now, because one of the great things about recruiting is you can kind of watch them. You can watch your own team play. And I'm going, we don't have a guy like that. We don't have a guy. And fortunately, we were able to get in there before he signed. He had committed to Central Michigan, but we're thrilled to have him. We redshirted him last year, and that's hard when you go from playing a lot. And it's hard also when you're in your hometown and you've been playing a lot and been a main guy, and now you're not playing at all, and practices are the only thing. But where he really caught my eye and our eye as a staff was in Italy this summer. He gave great stuff off the bench. What you've seen him give us, he started doing that in Italy. And you heard me when I said who was the biggest surprise. I said the most pleasant surprise of Italy was Austin Torres, and nothing's really changed. I talked about the Michigan State game. That was a game we needed to win to kind of feel like maybe we belong. Zach wasn't playing real well. He plays down the stretch and through the overtime, defends, makes big plays, tip-ins, gives us energy. So he has kind of etched a spot in our rotation, and he's smart enough to know his role.
Well, I don't think I even told Coach this. We named Austin the Notre Dame Radio Network MVP for the Michigan State game because a guy by the name of Brandon Dawson was killing Notre Dame that night. They put him on it, and that stopped. And again, if you don't get that game, you've lost the 1 point to Providence. You lose that game, we may be talking about a team that's a little over 500 now. So let's talk about that. Was really your first marquee opportunity where you had an impact like that. What was your mindset when you went out there?
It was kind of interesting because, if you're not playing, in Mohegan Sun, Coach had come up to me during study hall and said something to me about, guarding, Hinton, because he was, he had 38 points against us, and that was one of the key points in putting me on Dawson. And Coach had a lot of confidence in me through those practices before the game, and then when it became game time, he still had that confidence in me, and it really gave me a lot of confidence. And my teammates had confidence in me as well, and it just kind of carried over throughout the whole game.
Of course, your career high is 11 points against Purdue. Growing up in Indiana, what did that mean to you?
It meant a lot. I've always wanted to go down and play at Banker's Life. Being an Indiana guy, playing for Penn, and never made it to the state championship game. But going down there and being able to play was definitely a dream come true. Now,
your mom played soccer for Notre Dame. Seems like just yesterday, but it was 1990 to 1993. So how much? And your granddad, Bernie, who actually I worked with him at WNDU. Mm-hmm. I mean, something about all the adults in your family, they control all the money. And you're in the Mendoza College of Business as well. But how much Notre Dame stuff did you hear growing up?
I couldn't tell you one sentence that didn't have Notre Dame in it, probably. I grew up Notre Dame blood, and, I'm trying to make sure that I keep it going because, I'm blessed with the opportunity I've been given.
And, I got to talk about social media because one thing I have in common with everybody on the basketball team is I get ripped in social media too. And I was going through your feed, and when Notre Dame men's basketball announced your switch to number one guy tweeted, "Hey, NDMBB, it's not like he'll ever play." Mm-hmm. How much did that motivate you? Because you reposted that after the Michigan State game.
I did. I actually tagged the guy who tweeted that at me and put a picture of me playing against Michigan State. I don't really know how to explain it. It was really fun. Basketball is the game that I've been playing since I was upward basketball when I was in a little kid, 2nd and 3rd grade. But people, I've always had a chip on my shoulder ever since coming to Notre Dame. Trying to do the things that I do, trying to get on the court. That's just one of the main things. I don't have to be a superstar. To be on the court, I can do the little things to make our team a really super team.
But see, I really like that because you can't engage. And there was a young man on this team a few years ago who would engage those people. You didn't. You used it as motivation, and you answered the way you need to answer. You went out on the court, and you proved them wrong. And it was tough for Demetrius here last year playing in his hometown, and I see all-time leading scorer struggling and everybody in his head. But you also had to hear the stuff, well, he's only on the team because he's Demetrius' friend. I mean, how did you deal with that?
I just kind of kept working, getting in the weight room, trying to get my conditioning up. I gained 25 pounds since I've been at the university. One of the big things that I needed to work on was, my rebounding. And, the last 2 games have been a struggle for me, but in the previous ones, I've been trying to work on the boards, and, I got to make sure that I still keep improving at it.
Now, if you're around the team, you've heard this, and if you go on Watch Indeed to watch Irish Connection, you'll see the pregame huddle before the North Carolina game. This guy has an ear-piercing hoot that he does at the end of every huddle, and he does it at other times during practice. Where did that come from?
It kind of started, me and Zach did it one time in, my freshman year in the locker room during the summer, and, it kind of just carried over. We kind of brought it to the games this year. It kind of gives us a lot of energy. Everybody's echoing it back. It's a really good communicator. Actually, we actually do it when the referees come out, so we know no more dunking. So that's kind of our sign for that. But it's kind of carried over, and I think it's a really good sign for us.
All right, Engineer Bob Henning, do you have control of the pot? Is this something you want to keep quiet, or can you do the hoot for the crowd here?
I kind of want to keep it quiet. I think it's a team thing.
All right.
I feel like we should keep it within the team.
Good call. Don't let it out.
It's on video. Go to Watch Indeed. It'll get us some more hits, and that'll be good for us. We'll be back with more with Austin Torres in a moment. The Mike Brey Radio Show, live from O'Rourke's Public House. Welcome back. The Mike Brey Radio Show. We're up here with Austin Torres. By the way, he didn't play at all last year, and I know that was kind of hard. It's always hard for somebody, but did you see the positiveness about that decision?
Absolutely. It's amazing. I always tell this to my parents. I still have 3.5 years left of basketball. Even though I've already have an academic year underneath my belt. So it was really tough. Playing 30 minutes at Penn every game. Dressing for every game at Notre Dame. Knowing that I felt like I could contribute. It was hard, but I feel like it was the right decision. And me and Coach talked about it, and I still think it was the best choice.
Well, and again, you're still playing hard in practice, and I know you guys brought it up. You brought it up on the beginning of the show tonight, and one of your assistants brought it up at the end of the practice. How important the blue team is in practice right now. And one of the reasons this team is so good is their practices are tremendous basketball games. I watch games on ESPN right now that are not as good as a Notre Dame practice right now. And I remember there a couple times last year where Coach said, Austin, get ready. I mean, you came really close to getting in last year, and they didn't want to put you in last year because of a personnel management situation, but they almost had to. So you had to be ready. You don't practice any differently.
Yeah, the practices last year and this year were, or this year have been, always game situations. You have to practice. You have to practice like you're going to play in a game. Last year, my practices were my games, through the entire season. So, that kind of just prepared me for this season, and it's really showed.
Well, I mean, again, we talked about it in the break, and if you didn't see the Michigan State game, it's just he just changed the game. The numbers weren't necessarily that impressive in the stat sheet, but he went in and with his energy and his defensive ability changed the game, and that's why I know we named him the MVP. And I think only bigger and better things coming up. He's played in 14 games this year. He scored 40 points and pulled down 33 rebounds. So he's a major contributor, and he's earned the right to do the live Notre Dame basketball fast break right after this timeout on the Mike Brey Radio Show.
Legacy Heating.
Welcome back to the Mike Brey Radio Show. On this show, my job's time management. I haven't done a great job of it tonight, but I do want to let these guys. This team right now, 67 dunks for this team this year. 2 stand out. We're going to play them for everybody in here. Cheer for the one you like best. We're going to start with Demetrius Jackson at 6'1", dunking over a 7'2" center against Purdue. These are 2 of the most ridiculous dunks, guys. What do you think of this dunk, Austin?
I think it was. I've seen him dunk like this before. You know, he did it to me in high school when we were juniors. So, you know, I know what it's like.
Now, Jaron's dunk against Georgia Tech, as I called the retro rocket dunk. Yes, I know retro rockets slow you down. It was live. Give me a break. But I mean, just a spectacular dunk by both these players. What do you think? What do you guys think of that one on the bench?
I mean, we all were mind blown. I mean, Zach is usually, you know, jumping up and down and crazy. All he could do is just put his hands behind his head and just in awe, and he was very confused. I've never seen Jaron jump like that before. So that's a good sign for everybody.
You know, people are saying that he hits the guy with his knee, but I don't think that he got any more elevation. I just think he exploded. What's it like for you to have guys who can dunk like this? And everybody in the team can dunk.
I'll tell you what, it's a fun group to watch. You know, now they're trying to outdo each other. But, we've got some dunking guards, don't we?
Yes, we do.
Our guards are throwing that thing down left and right. Of course, Austin's had some great ones. Zach's had a couple, but you know everybody's kind of got in the mix on this thing.
And again, we put up the video archive of the show on Friday, so you can watch them all again. All right, abbreviated fast break questions. Player on the team most like you?
Bonzi.
Part of your game you need to work on?
Rebounding.
Favorite part of practice?
The end.
Worst part of practice?
The beginning.
Best part of your game?
Defense.
Favorite part of your trip to Italy?
Going to see the Vatican.
Under Armour gear?
Love it.
Assistant coach who's most like Coach Brey?
I would have to say Rob Balance. I'm pretty sure he called you daddy today in practice. Did he not?
Really?
Yes, that happened. Look, he's laughing, but I'm serious.
They're killing me. Man, I got. How many more radio shows we have?
Yeah, you got 7
They're
more.
wearing me down.
You got 7 more.
Skinny Rod Balana.
One thing you always hear from Coach Brey in practice?
Wow. Rebound.
Best nickname on the team and who has it?
Matt Gregory, Roger.
Why is it Roger?
He looks like the alien off American Dad, and his name is Roger.
Best defender on the team?
Demetrius.
Best leaper on the team?
Me.
Best dunker on the team?
VJ.
Worst dunker on the team?
Ooh. Bonzi.
See, everybody can dunk. That's the great thing.
Yeah, that's true.
Best dresser on the team?
Jaron.
Worst dresser on the team?
Katenda.
Best singer on the team?
Zach.
Worst singer on the team?
Berg.
Best comedian on the team?
Matt Farrell.
Worst comedian on the team?
Ooh. Probably VJ.
Free throw contest, 2 wins. You or Coach Brey?
Me, of course.
You know,
All right.
that's another thing that he's been
Yep.
doing. You know, last year, free throws maybe weren't as strong. He's made big free throws for us. He's come in because he's active. He gets fouled. He's finished three-point plays. He's made very clutch free throws for us this season as well.
Thanks, Coach.
And you just did a great job on this show, Austin.
Very
Thank
good,
you
Austin.
so much.
Good job,
Thank
buddy.
you.
We'll be back to wrap things up right after this final timeout. I mean, it seems that every time that you and I talk here on the Mike Brey Radio Show, live from O'Rourke's Public House, and before pregame interviews, that I'm saying the best team you've faced so far, the best team you've faced so far. Well, it's happening again.
Yeah.
Certainly on the way they play, what they've accomplished. They're 14-0 since the first time since the 80-81 season when a guy named Ralph Sampson was playing for them. Virginia's the best team you've played so far.
No question. They're a confident group. You know, experience is a key. They have great momentum. They have a style of play that has been very successful. They're going to grind you offensively. There's not going to be as many possessions in this game. They want to play a lower possession game. And then they play all man-to-man, but it's kind of jammed in, and it's physical. We're going to have to be very efficient offensively. You're not going to get the ball as many times because they almost grind you down and grind the clock down.
I mean, they're burning.
Yeah, they really are. They're kind of burned. We need to get out and get a couple easy buckets in transition. We need to run a little bit, probe a little bit. You're going to have to cut and move them around. And then, you know, I want to see us guard their stuff. You know, their movement is very similar to some movement that we've guarded before. Of course, the players, they've got a very talented perimeter. They've got two athletic frontline guys that can really get up and guard you. Toby is really good in the post. You know, they're a team that expects to win. They've got a swagger about them. It's well earned. It's well deserved. Great challenge for us. I know our atmosphere is going to be great. Fans are fired up about this one, and they should be. These are two really good teams going at it on Saturday.
Right, it's a fascinating matchup. It's the best offensive team,
Yeah.
not only in the country, but certainly in the ACC against the best defensive team in the ACC, but the pack line defense, they pack it in. How can they defend a team that can shoot it from downtown?
Well, you got to make some of those, and then you want to make sure you don't quick shoot either, because you know, then you're playing defense for 30 seconds back on the other end. So it's a fine line of attacking and being loose, but also taking really good shots. As I said, we got to move that ball, make the extra pass. We're going to have to make some shots over the top of that stuff like we did in Chapel Hill on Monday.
Exciting times. First place Notre Dame against second place Virginia, Saturday, 6 p.m. Watch it on ESPN2. Listen on WSBT and Watch ND. For Coach Brey, Austin Torres, I'm Jack Nolan. Thanks for coming out on a cold night, folks. Good night and go Irish.